Hello everybody, and welcome to the Module 6 commentary video, Record Centers, for LIS 886. To prepare for our exciting 15-ish minute journey through the wonderful world of RIM, please take a moment to adjust your video and sound settings. If you encounter any difficulty viewing this video, please contact me as soon as possible. Prior to viewing this video for Module 6, please read pages 99 through 120 in the Safety text. Also, please read the handout on Canvas called Know Thy Vendor, Getting the Best in Off-Site Record Storage by Guy Robertson. Directions on where to locate the handout will be available in your Module 6 to-do list, which is also posted on Canvas. This week, I will ask you to don a hard hat and venture into the magical world of record centers. If you had an affection for warehouses, or have always wanted to ride around on a platform ladder, this is the week for you. Since I assume this applies to none of you, let's just take 20 minutes to talk about commercial and economic ways to save money and a safe way to store inactive records. In other words, sending them to a record center. We will discuss the must-haves of a record center and then spend a little time doing some research to see what options are available to you as a RIM professional in the Chicagoland area. Before we venture too far into the weeds, let's pause for a moment and give a formal definition to the term record center. As you read in the text, Safety defines a record center as a warehouse which is cheap to use and provides safe storage for inactive records. In real practice, you'll probably want to send those pesky old invoices to a record center if you haven't referenced them in years, but you need to hang on to them for a few more years to meet retention requirements. Think back to Module 1. Office space is super expensive. Does it make economical sense to have an office with a valuable employee or 1 year full of old employee files that you're holding on to because you need to? Most program units aren't even aware of off-site storage options, so it's your job as a RIM manager to know the options and properly educate folks to make the decision which makes the best financial, safety, and functional sense. When it comes to record centers, you will likely encounter two scenarios, in-house and working with an off-site vendor. If you are an established organization, like a government agency, or one with special records needs, you may have or need to build an in-house center. While I would say it's very rare you'd be asked to probably build one, just know it's possible, and a lot of the things that apply to choosing an off-site storage vendor also apply to ideas you need to know when considering building one. However, if your record center is in-house, be sure to pay special attention to what Safety says about floor loads, heating and cooling, pests, and different things like that. I'm not going to spend any time going into those items, again, because it's such a rare scenario that you would actually be asked to build one in a RIM role, but it's good just to know what those items are and know that they're in a book if you ever would need to reference them. While we'll go over these when it comes to selecting a vendor, it's just always good to have them sort of in your toolbox of good to know. The more likely scenario that you'll encounter is being asked to recommend and work with a vendor off-site that has a record center. Just know you'll have lots of options and companies will be ready to take your boxes and money. In a few minutes, I'll go over the things you must consider when selecting an off-site vendor to suit your needs. As we progress on in this lecture, remember to select the best storage location for the phase of the record's life cycle. Active records are referenced frequently and therefore need to be on-site in file cabinets if in paper format, or in an electronic document management system or shared space for quick reference if digital. If the record is inactive and not frequently referenced, get it out of the office and send it to an off-site record center. It's cheaper, makes functional sense, and ultimately reduces clutter. Finally, if the record's retention schedule states the record must be preserved long-term, it should probably be bound for some sort of archival agency, whether that's internal or external. Remember, an archival agency assumes full custody of the records and preserves them for scholarly or administrative values according to the text, and really in a lot of business practices that's the case. Again, make sure you know the differences of these three options and how they fit in within the life cycle of a record. Now that the stage has been set for our talk of record centers, let's dig in and talk about what elements need to be considered when building or selecting a record center. I could probably rattle on for a good hour about the things a record center really must have to be effective to suit needs. However, the text does an amazing job of highlighting these major items, so I only want to bring a few things to light. First, a record center really should be a standalone structure. Think of it this way: you wouldn't want to have the record center attached to a building that could catch fire for functions unrelated to the storage of records. How tragic would it be to lose years' worth of inactive records due to a grease fire in a kitchen? Next, make sure the record center has good shelving and equipment. You don't want hundreds or perhaps thousands of pounds of records falling and perhaps crushing you or other things while you're trying to reference them. Also, you need more than just a step stool to get to hard-to-reach boxes. These are all no-brainers, but things you need to look out for when selecting a vendor or think about when you're building your own record center and buying items. Probably most obvious, be sure the temperatures within the record center are controlled. I won't make you memorize the temperature ranges, though know they're there, but just be certain that you know that media and even paper starts to act funny when it's too cold or too hot. Speaking of heat, make sure the record center can withstand a fire. In other words, record center folks shouldn't have a Marlboro Light hanging out of their lips when they're trying to put boxes away. It just doesn't make sense. Also, make sure there are no rats, silverfish, or other things that go bump in the night and make children scream anywhere near your records. Finally, a record center vendor should have convenient services like the ability to pick up your boxes from your organization, give you a reference room on site if you happen to be there, and also give you on-site delivery of requested boxes should you need them back. Again, all of these may seem very obvious, but just remember, not all record centers are created equally, and some have more features than others. In theory, you could send any type of box to a record center for storage. However, in actuality, record centers are designed to really hold uniform types of boxes. The most common type I'd like you to commit to memory is the cubic foot container, aka the record box. Built to store approximately 1 cubic foot of records, this box type is made out of wood pulp and structured specifically for long-term storage of inactive records. Please note, there are different types of boxes made out of different types of material. From performing a records inventory, you will know exactly what types and shapes of boxes will be needed to alert your vendor so they know what to give for you. Also, you may need that to factor into your building plans again if you are asked to build a record center. From the boxes, just make sure that you know roughly what the interior and exterior dimensions of a record center box are. It's important to know just for your reference, and it may show up again on our CRM quizzes, or if you actually sit for the CRM exam, you will need to know what a standard size box is. Record-centered software. Every good record center, especially those which you hire or outsource to, should have a robust record center software tool. In real practice, your records vendor, assuming you choose to outsource and not build, will set you up with sheets of barcodes or some kind of RFID tracking device to affix to every box you ship to their warehouse. Then, before you can send it, you'll need to log into the software and enter just basic metadata about the boxes. Each box typically gets a unique ID, and you're asked to describe the contents. Typically, you'll enter the type of record, the dates covered, and when the boxes need to be destroyed, if ever. Then, should you ever need to have a box sent back, you can log into the software, recall the box by ID, and in a few clicks have it returned. This type of software also allows you to track inventory and always know the current state of the union when it comes to records stored off-site. Finally, this software should allow you, with a few clicks, to order the destruction of any boxes which have met the retention requirements and would be destroyed if they were on site with you. Many folks think boxes have to be returned at the end of their records life cycle to be destroyed by you at the organization. But why? Every record center I know of will destroy the boxes for you, and some will even provide you with a camera feed so you can see it being destroyed with your own eyes. Always, off-site record storage vendors, if they destroy the records for you, should be providing you with a certificate of destruction so everything is accounted for. The final nugget of information to consider is the professional organizations which govern record centers. Yes, wonder of all wonders, there are at least 3 organizations whose sole purpose is to work with the world of commercial record vendors and record centers. Whether you decide to build your own or use a vendor, these groups are invaluable in providing industry best practices. I would highly encourage you to surf around their sites, if only just to understand what they do and how they relate to commercial record centers. I will tell you, as a practicing RIM professional, there is no way I would hire or contract with an outside record storage vendor if they were not a member of PRISM and probably a member of PRISM and NAID. It's just a good way of knowing that they meet the standards to be able to be advertised on these websites and used as reference. Don't ever, ever, ever contract with a storage vendor that doesn't have at least one of these Record Center Association affiliations. Well, this wasn't a very meaty week, so this concludes the Module 6 commentary video on record centers. Again, as always, if you have any questions or would like more information on the elements of the commentary, please do not hesitate to contact me directly. Have a fabulous week.